Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolutely wild saga about a single consumer who went head-to-head with e-commerce giants Lazada and the Xiaomi TH store over a missing smartphone feature. We're talking about a meticulously documented case that started as a completely standard return request and somehow snowballed into a massive, multi-year dispute involving deleted evidence, police reports, and government watchdog agencies.
Over 1,000 days. Just think about that for a second. That is how long a single consumer, Mr. Koichi Sakine, had to face relentless corporate stonewalling just to get a massive platform to admit to a basic typo in their product catalog.
Which brings us to a really disturbing question that we're going to answer today. Just how far will a massive platform go to hide a simple catalog error? When the truth is literally one click away, why on earth would a company spend years fighting a customer instead of just updating their website?
Section 1. The missing NFC feature. So let's rewind to November 11, 2021. What started as an everyday online purchase, a Xiaomi Redmi 10 global version smartphone, quickly morphed into a total consumer nightmare.
The setup is pretty simple. The Xiaomi T store made a very explicit promise in their advertising. It clearly stated NFC support for extra convenience, promising users that they wouldn't need to carry extra cards and could make secure transactions easily. The promise was right there, clear as day.
Naturally, Mr. Sakane ordered the phone fully expecting to use that specific feature. But when he opened the box, the device completely lacked an NFC system. And to be clear, it wasn't a glitch or a malfunction. The actual hardware simply wasn't built into the phone. It's a textbook case of a product failing to match its advertised description. Section 2, AI approval, human rejection. Now you'd think, hey, simple mistake. He rightfully tries to return the falsely advertised product just a few days later on November 15th. A few clicks, problem solved, right?
Well, this perfectly captures the absurdity of the whole system. Lazada's own AI chatbot, Clio, actually got it right. It correctly processed the complaint and instantly approved the return for being the wrong item. But then, plot twist, over a week later, the human quality control team steps in, physically inspects the return, and bizarrely rejects it. Their official reason? They claim the item was exactly as described and advertised by the seller.
This completely irrational rejection from the human team kicked off 35 agonizing days of stonewalling. The store literally refused to admit the clear catalog error on their platform. Instead of giving a refund for a phone that didn't do what it promised, they trapped the consumer with a useless device, all while they continued to sell the exact same phone online with the exact same misleading NFC claims.
Section 3. Vouchers and police reports. Because instead of just fixing the listing, the corporate machine decides to go on the offensive. This is where it goes from simple denial to outright intimidation.
Fast forward to February 1st, 2022. Instead of processing a proper, mutual refund, a lawyer representing Lazada just unilaterally dumps a shopping voucher into Mr. Sakine's Facebook Messenger account. With this totally unprompted transfer, the lawyer boldly declares the case resolved, completely bypassing the consumer's consent or the standard return process.
When Mr. Sakine rightly refuses to accept this forced settlement and won't back down, things escalate dramatically. On February 18th, this lawyer actually files a police report against the consumer at the Thong Lo police station in Bangkok. The records show the lawyer threatened a lawsuit for damages because the phone hadn't been returned, which is wild considering they had previously refused to take it back. Even crazier, the report falsely claimed the consumer was demanding 35,000 baht in compensation. Mr. Sakine vehemently denies ever making that demand. In fact, he says he had never even met or spoken with this lawyer.
Section 4. Erasing the evidence. And if weaponizing the police wasn't wild enough to silence a complaint over a phone feature, the platform then decides to just manipulate the digital paper trail itself.
In March 2022, Mr. Sakine notices something incredibly alarming. A highly specific 10-day window of his chat logs with the store has been suddenly deleted from the platform without his permission. And it's not a random 10 days. It's exactly the period from November 15th to November 24th, 2021. That is the exact window covering his initial return request, the AI's approval, and the human QC team's rejection. The most vital piece of evidence just vanished from their system.
Which brings up a really terrifying point. How on earth can a consumer defend their rights when the accused corporation literally controls the delete button for the evidence on their own servers? Honestly, if Mr. Sekine hadn't been taking his own screenshots the whole time, his entire case would have been permanently erased right then and there.
Section 5. The 3-year confession. Luckily, because Mr. Sekine was so meticulous about keeping independent screenshots, he was able to track the company's constantly shifting narrative over the next 3 years as the Consumer Protection Board finally got involved.
This timeline is just an agonizing evolution of a corporate cover-up. It starts with vague, private excuses to dodge liability, moves to a forced admission under government pressure, and ultimately ends in a shocking act of retaliation. Let's break down these documents. Going back to his saved files from December 2021, we see the store initially trying to privately brush off the missing NFC feature as mere, quote, misinformation. They offered a refund if he returned it, but crucially, they kept that false advertising completely live on their website for every other customer to see. By mid-2023, with official subcommittee meetings from the Consumer Protection Board turning up the heat, the store's excuse conveniently evolves. They send a formal letter blaming the whole thing on a highly confusing term, misidentification information, claiming it was all just due to language limitations and misunderstandings.
Finally, on November 20th, 2023, 2 relentless years later, the store submits an official written report to the OCPB. In it, they plainly confirm what the consumer knew on day 1. The product had no actual NFC system. They finally proved it was a catalog error all along.
But of course, the story doesn't end with a neat little apology. In an act of what looks like pure spite, Lazada abruptly terminates Mr. Sekine's entire account without notice in July 2024, confiscates that initial forced voucher, and wipes whatever remaining records were left. It literally took until early 2025 for an official admission of misleading advertising to finally surface, capping off years of deflection.
Section 6. Documenting every interaction. The only reason we know the absolute truth about this systematic concealment, the reason this didn't just disappear into the digital ether, is because of how brilliantly this consumer strategized. This explainer is essentially a masterclass in why you absolutely must create your own digital paper trail when dealing with corporate giants. The lessons are crystal clear. Take immediate screenshots of product pages and order details. Get everything in writing. Back up your chat logs locally because, as we saw, platforms can and will delete them. Escalate to official watchdog agencies when you're getting stonewalled. And never, ever accept unapproved unilateral settlements that are just meant to sweep your rights under the rug.
So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat chilling thought to consider the next time you're shopping online. If a massive platform is willing to deploy lawyers, file bogus police reports, and wipe out user data just to cover up a missing phone feature in a product catalog, what else are they capable of hiding? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, always keep the receipts.